Carpentry first fix. First fixes the following components: subfloors, not required as in this job we have a concrete slab, wall frames and roof frames. The roof frames can be either cut roof or trusses. In our cases, they will be trusses. Over the next 9 slides, we're going to be actually going through each component, each part of the first fix, and the necessary components that we need to identify, and ultimately we will end up estimating for. So let's go to our second slide. Any job, we actually need the main plan. We have no choice. And so I've formed this into an assessment, and the assessment will be key features of the main drawings. And we've got about 5 of these, and they're all in different parts. So I'm just going to run through them quickly so that there's no issues. So for example, main drawings, key features, the site number, the block size, street names, proposed residence, locality map, the scale of the plan, offset from the boundary, there are several, fence type, tree positions, name of the building designer, date, project number, and paper size. So answer each one of those. Now, of course, this is going to be impossible for you to put this onto the PowerPoint. So what we'll do is you can actually take a snip of those main components there, put it on your sheet, and just put the answers alongside, and they'll be uploadable. Okay, next slide. And would you believe, here we go, key plan. Every drawing, especially for a home, we need to actually make sure that we have all the dimensions, and here they are. Okay, so we can see that this is actually our second drawing, okay, ground level plan, and it shows you our total sizes wherever we are, which is really good stuff because we need to actually know what our width is. Some of the questions I'm going to be asking you are length of trusses, and so for you to find those lengths, you will need to consult this plan. So this is probably the most important plan out of all the plan set. So what does it have? It has a scale, has all dimensions, has an area analysis, window schedule, shows you where the section is, location of that section and which way it's looking, which way we are actually viewing the section, which is always in the way of the arrows. One thing I haven't put on here is energy rating, but you can see it right here. There it is there. Okay, energy rating of 6 on this structure. Okay, now if I was to put red highlights everywhere all the way through here, it would make it quite messy. Part of this assessment is for you to identify all these key areas. Okay, so slide number 4. Here we have elevations. The key features of the elevations, the view direction, okay, which is really important. In other words, we've got a view looking to the south and we've got a view looking to the east. The window hand, window number, level G, level 1, what does that stand for? Cladding type, fence height, fence color, roof pitch, eave width, panel door size. So here's our panel door through here, and we can consult our main plan from that. Roof material, fascia material, and gutter type. Okay, let's have a look at slide 5. We're halfway through. Elevation 2, key features. The view direction again, okay, and it shows actually AA, so we're actually looking from, we're standing here looking that way. when we view the section drawing. Okay, again, window hand, window number, level G, level 1. Now we've got a ceiling height, pier size, termite treatment, and the code for the termite treatment. So we need to actually have a look at that. Section AA, details, and you can tell by the list on the right hand side just how many details there are. Okay, so let's have a look. Truss eave detail, I've made it red. Notice this is unlike a normal truss roof. A normal truss roof, the bottom chord would sort of skip over the top of the wall frames by around about 120 mil. Here we have an old-fashioned, to a degree, structure called a pole plate. And so you can do a web search for that, but a pole plate basically supports the roof at this point, and the ceiling joists run over the stud walls, brickwork. So in this instance, we've got a 300 eave. There it is there, 300 eave plus 150. Unbelievable drawing here with my mouse. Okay. All right, so 300 plus 150, so we've got a 450 overhang. And so when we actually look at the truss layout, which I'll be doing a separate PowerPoint for, you will actually see on that layout, it actually shows the overhang and where the station points are, which are really critical. What are some of the others? So what type of sarking? So if you could actually put that in there. 70 by 35 roof battens. I think we can assume that this is basically timber. R4 insulation, ceiling battens, 450 centers, 10 mil plasterboard ceiling, 90 mil plaster cornice, 2.7 ceiling height, stud work, 90 by 45. F5, you'll find that F5, MGP 10 are the same thing. Okay, the older F numbers, it's unusual that somebody's using that because MGP 10 has been in for quite a few years by now. Notice 450 centers, double top and bottom plates. Now the reason for that is because of the pole frame construction, and so that goes right through. Apparently quite common in Victoria. 2 row of noggins, 2.5 insulation, this is in the walls, DS4, all external walls, 10 mil plasterboard linings, finials by 2, and would you believe it, I've covered 2 of the key points. I would imagine they'd be right down the bottom there. We'd be talking about such things as floor level, also the PVC membrane, and also the termite treatment, what it is. It has an AS code, so we need to actually find what that is. All right, we'll go to slide 7. Okay, now we've got 2 really handy drawings here. The draftsman, when he drew these plans, he's covered the electrical layout, and all I've put here is as per legend. Here it is here. Here's our legend. I'll try and do a straight a line as possible. I've already been chipped once for it, so it'll happen again. I just do not have the tools with this set up to actually get nice straight lines for you. But there you are. As simple as, and what I did with my plans is I looked for and counted up the number of these and just put it right here. Okay. Over here, look for that same legend. How many of those? How many smoke alarms do we have? Etc. and so on, so that we can put that into our takeoff. All right, the other one that's really important, bracing plan, framing plan. So for first fix carpentry, if you don't have one of these as a chippy, this is painful because number one, you have to work it out. But here we do have the lintel sizes. So we've got 140 by 35 MGP10. So it's interesting that we used F5 on the other plan, and here we're back to MGP10. All right, the lintel's only 900 long, but that's the opening. So basically what will happen is this material will have to order a 1.2 for this window, for example. And so along here is every lintel. These are our main beams for the alfresco, 290 by 45. There's an error here. They're not 290 by 450, so that 0 shouldn't be here. All right, we've also got a 120 by 45 lightweight beam. It's only MGP10 for the porch. Bearing in mind the porch is only 1800 wide, so it's extremely light. And so all I want for here is a list of all the different materials that you would need and their lengths, because what you'll be doing is actually then putting those into your takeoff. Okay, notice the legend here. Okay, dashed line is 1800 metal cross brace. Now bracing works like this. If you have a bracing panel that develops 3 kilonewton per meter, you actually times that 3 by the length of your brace. Now the average brace optimum angle is 45 degrees. So that means that if you have got 2.7 high wall frames, then your bracing panel will be around 2.7 to give you 45 degrees. And so that figure of 3 kilonewtons times by 2.7 gives you the metal cross bracing capacity. Okay, we've got a shorter mini panel here, full bracing. It's plywood, 2.7 high, but it's only 600 wide. It's useful, but it's not the best that you can do. And just visualize the fact that that 600 piece that's down on the base is nailed onto those double studs and double bottom plates to make sure that this is as rigid as it possibly can be. Okay, and so the indications of beams here, and so that's basically how that works for there. All in all, it's reasonable. Okay, lighting notes, it is worth your while having a look at these. Okay, just have a read about this section. All right, it's something on a plan that it's put there for a reason, and the reason is so that we actually read it. And number one, I should have said before, dimensions on the plan take precedent over scale. So even though they've done a great job down here and they've put a scale there, okay, 1 to 100, we should not have to actually use the scale rule. We should actually see the sizes, the dimensions on plan 2. Okay, on to our next one. Now, this can cause all sorts of trouble, and one of our former students in 2016, who has his own business, TCB Building Services, Anthony Rogoznica, basically does this for a living. And so when he called me, he's an external student, and he said, this is okay if I use my layout plans, my setup to do this. And I said, yeah, I said, that'd be great, because we'll get a comparison on what my class did under my tutorage, and Anthony got to do his work now along with his wife. Both of them were doing this, and so there were similarities in what they did, but basically I think one did the walls, one did the roof, and basically in this came, surprise, surprise, we were within about $1,500 of each other at the end of the entire takeoff. So we're talking about a structure, you know, $340,000, $350,000, and to be $1,500 difference, I was very surprised, because that almost never happens. Okay, so why is this drawing so important? It is the actual build drawing. So when this drawing is consulted, this is where the trusses go. This is the size trusses. It's also the layout that the truss manufacturer has supplied, and so you can see through here T1, T2, T3, T4, and right up to T15 and 16 are all the same size. They run from outside of wall here to outside of wall there. Then you've got to add 300, 450 either side. So we need to know, number one, what's the station point? Station point T2. So this truss here is actually a station point. In carpentry terms, this would be looking at being called half span. And so half the distance from here through to here. Okay, from memory, that's 8265 or 8269, should I say. Divide that by 2, and if we measured from this end through to here, okay, should be 8269, and that is half span. All right, and this is critical. Then from this point, 8269 minus 1200. Okay, so we've got half of 8269, and then we reduce it by 1200, and then we've got another truss here. This is a TG, meaning truncated girder. Okay, and this is a this fellow over here, T3. When we look at our truss layouts, you'll be able to see the different types of trusses and how that applies. All right, we've got some other trusses. We've got this fellow over here. We've got T7 and T8. Okay, so first of all, station point, the span of the trusses, question 2, so you can work that out. Then we look at span of trusses T7 and T8. What is the span of the mono truss? T12, there it is there. Okay, why does it have no overhang? What is the span of T16 and T17? Okay, and that's these two fellows here. All right, T16, T17. All right, and then last of all right, what is the span of the girder truss? T9. There it is there. Okay, and we've also got 10 and 11. All right, so you've got a variety of trusses. And another question, and this is general knowledge, you need to perhaps do a little bit of research here, but that is the full extent of trusses on this job. And it's a classic South Australian thing where we actually cut in rafters. We actually do what you call cut ends. So following this incline, across to here and along to here, we're going to actually put in some rafters. Okay, and so there's going to be a rafter through there, and if we look at here, there's going to be another fellow, that's another rafter. Sorry for my squiggly lines here, and this is 1200, and then generally here's our next one, another rafter here, and then we go, there's another little fellow here. Okay, so if we come to there, here's another rafter. Now, if they're as bent as that, we have to send them back to the timber company, don't we? All right, here we go. We've got another rafter there, and I reckon we'll probably fit another one there. So that's what you call cut ends. So that means you've got some little bits down here you've got to do. One there and one there. Over this side over here, you've got the same deal. Okay, you've got a pair of hips. Okay, so we have to actually put in a hip there and there. All right, and if I just draw a line, oh man, look how straight that is. 12, and then along here like so. All right, and then to fill that in, we've got to have a rafter, a jack rafter in New South Wales called a crown end rafter. There's another rafter and another one down there. That's another one filled in. So this is when we talk about cut ends. So we're actually cutting timber. We're cutting 2 pairs of hips, and what these rafters are called are creeper rafters. And the reasoning behind that is they gradually get smaller from its full size. Okay, and then that's the rest of it. Over here, we've got a couple of little rafters that we have to work out, and you can actually have a look at that and work out, yeah, I can see where that would have to go, especially because we actually have a minor roof here to a major roof here. So that means that we actually have what's called a cripple creeper, which runs from there to there, and he has to actually then go another timber across here and another one right down to there to fill that in. And so then we have to extend this rafter right up to here, and this one here is only about 100 mil. All right, bit squiggly for you, but basically what have we got down here? 150 by 150 treated posts. That's huge. There's 2 of them, and then we've got 90 by 45 rafters at 600 centers. Okay, so you can actually have a look at that. That's some of the material that we have to take off. How many rafters do we need? How many trusses? And so we do have a supplied truss list. But what I want you guys to do first of all is to work out what the lengths are, and then get an idea, get a concept of how that's coming together. Now you notice on this plan that it actually says purlins steel at 1200 centers. So 12 of the 416, there was an amendment, steel purlins and connectors. Okay. And also changes to the pole plate. So we'll have a look at that and have a close look and see why that is like it is. Okay, if we look at the next one, wall frame layout. Wall frame layout's a doozy, and this is a fairly simple wall frame layout. Now, if you're a carpenter, you'd probably do something like this from scratch in an hour, hour and a half. I've had students spend days, okay, because of too much detail, and so this is the reason that I've put these 2 plans in place and said we're going to use those. Okay, key things that we need to know. Roof covering is iron. Roof pitch is 30 degrees, ceiling height 2700. Incidentally, from a construction point of view, we would actually make the wall frames 2710 or 2715, so that when we put the ceiling in, we still have 2700 ceiling height. Okay, eaves overhang 300. Over here, wall frame details, all of those. So let's have a look. Question 1, I want you to look at this plan and answer these questions. What size are the top and bottom plates? External stud size, stud positions, stud corner types. It could be a 2-stud corner or it could be a 3-stud corner. You can actually have a look at that and find out what the difference is. And we're talking about corner and also junctions. So, for example, here's a corner. Okay, that would be a 3-stud intersection. Here you've got an intersection along a straight wall, and so we need to know what sort of junction it is. Is it 3-stud? Is it 2-stud? All right, struts for blocking size, nogging size, MGP rating. Is it 10, 12, 15? You need to have a look at that for me. Non-load bearing, are the walls or are they load bearing? Okay, the set down, opening studs and point load studs. Also, we've got 2 very important little points down here which you hardly see. Wind direction 2, wind direction 1. So when the calculations have been done for the amount of wind speed, wind direction 1, for example, is 66 square meters, okay, M2, and then by the time you do your calculations for N3 wind speed rating, you've got 79 kilonewtons of bracing capacity that you must place on these walls, and that's why we've got so much bracing to resist the wind blowing from this direction that way. Okay, the same deal over here. All right, even more. It's longer. You've got larger face. Wind directions blowing from here along there. There it is there. Okay. And it is 92. There it is. Whoops. And I've drawn over the top of it. Okay. I might forget the rubber and sort that out. Okay. That's bad. Highlighter. Pen. Let's try. All right, so 92. Let's see if I can. Might have to oil my mouse. Okay, so 92 kilonewton of wind resistance has to be made up, and that is calculated by all of the bracing. Now, where did we see a bracing plan? We saw that in the main plan, so it will be a good job for us to actually have a look and see the differences. And if we look down here, hardboard brace, tension strap brace with fixings, and down below that is the actual point. So for example, this one here, 3.4. All right, you can see the amount allowed, and if you really want to find this totally, you could go into the AS 1684 bracing and look at that. But really, from the point of view of a takeoff, what we're really interested in is, do the trusses do the job? How many are there, and how much is it going to cost? And that's really the main story. Okay, let's get to our final slide. Okay, you have now just run through in a very brief manner the fundamental steps for carpentry first fix. Once you've answered all the required questions on each slide, you can then calculate the identified parts and fill the takeoff sheet. Now the takeoff sheet will be in the carpentry panel, and I'll make sure that I send you an email, a snip, a picture of where it is, so that there can be no mistaking it. It'll be exactly the same format as what you have already worked with the concrete takeoff sheet. And what we want to do is actually fill that sheet right out. Once you've completed the carpentry and you've filled the takeoff sheet, you are now ready to upload your own work into the work in progress upload. And we are then saying that we're getting pretty close to almost halfway through our work. So I hope that's made it a little bit clearer for you, rather than me just going, okay guys, work out the carpentry. And bear in mind, I'm predominantly focusing this towards the external student who is just in some room somewhere or desk and working your way through. And if he knows the trade, that's no worries, but many don't. So I hope you've found this beneficial. All for now.